Joyce.
I am Steve Joyce, and I live in Kernersville, North Carolina.
We're retired now. We ran our own stable over the years, and we also had several private jobs. So
We started out at Happy Valley, and it was during the time that both Sam Brannon and Bob Vessel were the trainers there. Eddie B. Womble was also there, got to know Eddie B. real well then, and Lloyd Teeter was there, which was really kind of neat. We were at Bill and Nancy Becker's for a while, at Royal Scott, at Stony Hill and Glenmore, but we're probably better known than anything for being at Castle Hills, which we were there about 10 years, and that's where we just had we were fortunate, we had a lot of really nice horses, and we did well.
How long have you been training, and how did you get your start in the industry?
we trained for probably 40 some years professionally. And we really got started just going to little Saturday night horse shows. It's actually how we met. He was showing quarter horses and Appaloosas, and I happened to have a saddlebred. And it just sort of happened. We went to school, we went to college, our parents wanted us to get real jobs, and we tried,
So we did.
but it didn't work. So horses are what we loved, and horses are what we did.
Steve, if you could tell me who is or was your biggest role model?
Well, I was always a big Red Crabtree fan. I always liked the way that Red seemed to ride at a horse and ask it for a lot. And I really admired that starting out. And I think he would be the one that I would choose.
How about you, Julia?
I'm not sure about role model exactly, but Don Harris was my absolute idol. And really, he was such an idol. I couldn't even really have a relationship or talk to him like a normal person. But Claude Shiflett really took us under his wing when we were first starting out. He was down in North Carolina. And he just taught us a lot about people and the business. We really appreciated Claude.
Who was the most challenging horse or student you've worked with, and why?
Okay, they go together. I had a wonderful pleasure horse. His name was SS Music Man. He was the love of my life, to the very end of his life. And his rider wasn't quite ready for him when we got him. And she started out in a lesson program, and she didn't have a lot of natural talent. She wasn't really built for it, and she struggled a lot, and it was hard to put this together. The man was really big and powerful and all show horse, and this kid just kind of struggled with it, but we worked with it and worked with it and worked with it, and she went on to win world championships with him. And she actually decided, after showing him pleasure a couple of years, she wanted to do equitation, and we couldn't get an equitation horse at that time, so we decided man could do this. And man was a challenge, and I think that's where he taught me something really important about training horses. He would do a workout, but you could not practice a workout. And all she could ever do with him was like run through a workout one time. More than that, he's going to take charge. So we figured that out. She did all her practicing on practice horses. She would get on him once in a while and go through a pattern. And she ended up winning the Pleasure Eck Medallion, which was the only final for Pleasure Eck riders at that time. And with huge compliments from Red Crabtree. He was one of the judges.
That's great.
So that was probably my most challenging rider and horse in the combination.
What is the biggest light bulb moment that you've had while working a horse or teaching a student?
I don't know that I actually had a light bulb moment, but I think I always tried to get into a horse's head a lot and just kind of tried to figure out what made a horse tick. And to me, that's kind of what it was all about.
If either of you have a funny story, just share a funny story with us.
This one involves Susie Rambler Day, and she'll tell this herself, so I'm sure I'm not going to offend her. But when she was learning to ride Moses, she just got me, and we were at a horse show, and she couldn't get him to trot. He just kept doing this little ambly thing. And finally, Steve talked to her and talked to her, and he finally said, "Susie, do you understand what I'm saying?" And she said, "Yes." He said, "Well, do it." Well, she worked a little longer. It still didn't quite work. So he finally just said, "I've got horses to work. You just figure it out." So they did, and the rest was history.
A good history.
Good history.
Very
Really good
history.
history.
Yes.
Susie was wonderful. She was the best.
How about you, Steve? Funny story.
Funny story. Once at the Lexington Junior League show, long time ago, I had a really silly walk trot mare. Very nice, but very silly. Her name was Highland Lady Ann, and she was the dam of Winterfest. Yeah. She went on to gain fame as the dam of Winterfest. But anyway, first way of the ring at Lexington, first of all, the ring was full of horses. I've never seen as many horses in a class. And she was really good the first way. When they called for the reverse, she didn't want to go that direction.
It was in the middle of the straightaway. In the middle of that straightaway.
Yeah, it was right in the middle of one of those long straightaways there at Lexington. And, she turned around and went the other way. So I was going, obviously, against traffic. And I'll never forget Rick Wallen yelled at me, "Steve!" You know, like I was going the wrong way on purpose, which I wasn't. I was trying to get turned around, but I don't think I'm sure we didn't get a ribbon.
Oh, no.
Class.
She never did get
Because
turned.
I don't think we ever went the second way.
She just
actually.
started spinning.
But I'll never forget Lillian Shively told me after the class, she said,
cheering up. We're cheering them up.
yeah, she said, the first way of the ring, you were chewing them up and spitting them out. And she said, the second way of the ring, Jesse James and all his men could not have gotten her down through that straightaway. So that made me feel somewhat better. That at least she noticed and had some advice.
All right, share your biggest accomplishment.
I think probably my biggest accomplishment would have to be the year that Santana's Charm won the amateur stake. I was told that he was the first stallion to ever win that class, and I think a few have won it since then. But I think he was the first one, at least the first one that I know of.
And who was his rider at the time?
Craig Kurtz. Donna Moore was one of the judges, actually, and I'll never forget we saw Donna pretty often for breakfast at the cafe there in Versailles, and she told me, she said, when we put those 4 horses back on the rail, I had him 4th on my card. And she said, I thought he won it. That just made me feel really good. That she would think that.
If you could go back and give your 20-year-old self advice, what would it be?
To find where you want to be and have a place of your own and settle down. We moved around a lot, and I don't think that was helpful overall. We moved for various reasons each time, but different opportunities. But overall, I think it would have been better to have our own place and just settle down. It's okay, it's a horse video.
Oh my gosh. All right, Steve, what about you? If you could give your 20-year-old self advice.
I would have to agree with what Julia said about that. But I think also I would probably encourage more people to buy young horses now. Because I really enjoy working the young horses, as I'm sure a lot of people do. It's probably what most of us would rather do, but we don't always have that choice, I know. But I think I would steer people more to that, and horses that I could have shown early on and gotten ready for them to show. We pretty much had to buy horses that were ready for people to show. And I wish that had been a little different. I really do. We need to be very aware of the image that we are presenting today. We were just at the Ocala Horse Show, and I heard that somebody there asked a trainer, why do you have the horse's feet tied together? Well, we all know what those were. They were stretches, of course, but that doesn't look right to John Q. Public, and I think that's something we need to present ourselves in a better light, and probably explain more to people when they do ask a question.
Okay.
I agree wholeheartedly with what he said, and to go a little farther, I really think we need to stop doing some of the things we're doing, just because it is so bad in the public's eye. But the rest of it is for trainers and instructors. I think the instructors are probably already doing their part in giving back, but I think more trainers need to get involved with riding programs and having instructors and bringing up the next generation, because we're getting smaller and smaller, and you need to build your own programs. You don't need to think you can get your program from somebody else's hard work.
Good advice. Thank you both for your time and for doing this interview for the UPHA. We really appreciate it.
You're very welcome, Sarah. Thank you for having me.